How about now, baby? Do I have sound now? Do I have sound now? No? I do have sound now? What's up? No sound originally. My wife came to the window and tells me to turn the mic on, so we did that. Your healing changes the world. We're going to try to give language to that. We're going to try to give language to what that means. How your healing, your internal work changes and affects the external world. And how when you do it and I do it and we do it writ large, what that means. What is healing in the first place? What is healing? I think healing deals with a connection to truth, a connection to God, connection to the simplest, most pervasive truth. We talked about God in a number of ways, and we've acknowledged that God deals in paradox. God deals with a complexity, a set of complexities that are so complex that they engage, that they become paradoxical. They completely escape logic. They escape narrative, the typical narrative that we use to understand the world. I can tell you that this is that, and this was there at that time, and this is, and um, God deals on a larger scale than this and escapes those sentences, those words, those symbols that we use, and it escapes the logic that we typically engage in. I want to say that, when I left the news media scene several years ago, um, and I decided to talk about media literacy. And I started to make a YouTube page and talk about media literacy and talk about what I learned from working in CNN for 5 years and talk about the business side of the cable news and the advertising and the power relationships and the work that goes into the words that you end up reading on your headlines and the words that you see on YouTube. Um, I remember creating content. You can see some of it on this YouTube page. You can see it on my website at billybutton.com. I would go on Quora, go on Facebook, and I would start conversations with people, and I would challenge people who were writing about the media. They were writing about what mainstream news and objective journalism, and they had positive things to say about places like CNN. I would challenge them, and I remember being really frustrated. I mean, things were really getting crazy. I mean, there was COVID. There were like a lot of discussion with BLM. There was all this like the gender war was still very prevalent, and I think we were in the beginnings of some of the violence we're seeing in the Middle East. On top of things with our domestic politics with Trump and all that stuff. But anyway, I thought that I wanted to contribute to this media conversation, media literacy, and I remember at the early stages one day I started seeing on YouTube that like after me putting in months on this and getting a few followers and you know what I'm saying, getting a couple of interactions, but not the kind of meaningful stuff that I expected. I started to see other creators in the space. I see some guy on YouTube pops up and it's like just creates a YouTube page and he's got 3 videos and his videos were doing incredibly well. In fact, his last video was doing way better than mine. And, it's like, oh, I like his content. This is great. This is the stuff I've been talking about. And he's having success with it. And I want to point to this. I want to point to that when I first saw this, it bothered me. My first reaction was like, what the fuck? I've been at this for months. I've been at it on YouTube for months. My understanding about this, I've been at this for years. In fact, I've poured into. In fact, I thought, look at me, man. I'm coming out of CNN. I can tell you from an insider's perspective. I thought my content has that, in fact, and I'm different. Look, I can present this information in my way. And so, my first reaction was to feel a bit of jealousy, maybe a bit of like this contrast of he's hitting these metrics that I'd hoped on Instagram and on YouTube. Um, and these little metrics. And it took a while to notice, actually, and to heal. This was the healing thing, to notice my own. Once I noticed that I was bothered by this, like what was happening there? In truth, what I was experiencing when I see these new content creators having success, this was exactly what I'd hoped for. This is what I left CNN for. This is the world that I was desiring and saying. I said, we need more people who can look at the cable news product, see what it is, articulate the problem, and help us with new options, help us build discernment. And it was happening. Not only were the content creators creating content, but they were being well received. There was clearly an audience. I wasn't capturing the audience, but they were there. And that was years ago. Now, years after, so much stuff has happened. So much stuff. So many people have been moving in and out in the dominant news, the corporate news arena. People are getting a really good look at what goes on there. Barry Weiss and the CBS situation with the Free Press, and with CNN, and with the Ellison family, this further consolidation of the media, Twitter, and all of this stuff. Elon Musk. We see more and more people. We see with the even you know you know the influencer craze, these sort of political influencer craze, which has shown people this younger crop, this wider crop, thousands of influencers, that they're under the same set of pressures that in the previous generation, it was the cable news guys, that they're, we all get a sense of this, like what goes into that product now. So we are, it's exactly what I envisioned. It's exactly what I was hoping for. In many ways, in many ways it's wider than I'd hoped. I couldn't have even envisioned this particular thing, but there was a version of me that even when I experience the world, I can look at it and go, well, how come I'm not that? And how come it doesn't look exactly this way? How come that person did that better than me, or is being received, or is getting greater accolades than I am? And I want to point to that. This is me. This has to do with my sense. I want to use the word to heal here, to know that it's not a destination. It's not some final destination. No one is healed in any static sense. I think that to be healed points back to an authenticity. It points back to a genuineness that we've talked about on several episodes. And it points back to truths about reality. It is to be present and to be able to accept the present without those stories that we've talked about, the stories that create contrast and that produce anxiety, that tell you that you're lacking, or that something isn't right, or that something needs to be fixed, or that you aren't good enough, or a number of different stories. While healing is a continual process, it's a constantly an everyday process of engaging with the now and being present in the now and accepting the now. The engagement means to step in and to change things where it seems fit, to use your voice and to take action in your best interest where you seem fit. So I have an on and off principle of you act and then also sit and relax. And as we talked in Wu Wei, the balance of letting go, of not acting. The unhealed, the less healed version can look exactly at this situation today, particularly in the media thing that I talked about, like I said, and look at the situation and not notice the brilliant movement that's developed and continues to develop. As bad, on one level, it's bad. It's bad that there is no that there's incredibly low trust at this moment. It's bad that everyone has the awareness that they don't trust their news sources, their corporate the big popular mainstream news sources. That's a bad thing, and it can be looked at as a bad thing, and it is. And at the same time, that lack of trust is a product of a deeper awareness. That lack of trust is a product of a deep awareness. It's not, you can look and you look at it from a certain perspective and think that, oh, it's bad. Everyone should trust no, they shouldn't trust their news organization if the news organization isn't deserving of trust. The news organizations are required to earn the trust of the people, and they failed. And so there is a condition where people don't notice and can't tell and are continuing to abide by the words and the narratives and believe everything. And they're looking at the serious men in the suits saying words and pulling up charts, and they just kind of internalize those narratives. But that's not the condition we have. We actually have a condition of a higher consciousness, a higher raised awareness, that the words are just symbols. Then you don't just internalize the words and repeat them, and you're not, just as those guys on TV are pretending to be smart and pretending to be, you know what I'm saying, giving you accurate information that you take on, and let's all pretend. All right, well, I'm smart too. That's why I'm saying the same words. I've got big words, just like motherfucking those people on TV. Look at me. And no, 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 no. So we all, you come into this like awareness of yourself. You are not a pass through where you receive narratives and words and frameworks. You receive them and you now carry them. And this is what I mean about being stuck in someone else's stories. That everyone get all the labels that have been given. You're like, oh well, now okay, that's what it is, and let me take that. No, you are in control. You are the operative power. You have to weigh what you are given. When someone offers a critique, you weigh it against your own intuition and your own deeply held understanding. So it's changed my world to come to a place of, let's call it healing, where the observations I make, take note of the wider picture and take note of the growth and the changes that I want to see in the world. There's a version of me that doesn't feel, I don't know, there's a version of me that continues to feel the anxiety that I felt maybe 5 years ago, where it's important to keep sort of hammering in particular at the cable news media and to find creative ways to do that. And I will continue to do that because that's necessary. But part of my healing has allowed me to notice that man, things are moving. People are taking up the mantle, and it frees me up to talk about concepts like the self and talk about concepts like the fact that it's all one thing. Frees me up to talk about identity, which to me again is deeper than, it's a deeper conversation. It hits to the core of why things are the way they are. It's not just people performing actions. It's people thinking about the world in a certain way, thinking about themselves in such a way, producing actions. So healing, maybe I should do a thing about healing. Healing is just a healing is just a word we use to describe a condition of greater attunement and alignment with what is, with the fact of nature, of our interconnectedness with all that is, and an attunement with that that story, that simpler story, and not the story of all the different separations that we're so often inundated with, and the stories of that separate you from, you know, your genuine self. The stories that separate you from your best and aspirational self, separate you from the future self, the person that you see in the future. To know that you are that healed person can see their best selves and move as such and step comfortably, you know what I'm saying? Like with confidence, you know what I'm saying? That they're supported and that, to build towards whatever it is that they envision. And I think we're often robbed of that. We're robbed of that because we are labeled. We're given labels. We're given stories about power. We're told that power exists somewhere out there. We're given a label. We're given a set of expectations. We're being demanded of things. People are calling on us in a very particular way. We're given a value set, and we're all sort of navigating that every day. That's what we're inundated with, navigating that instead of navigating that deeper truth. I didn't know exactly how this episode would go, but I think it's interesting. Yeah, my healing continues to evolve me and continues to evolve like where I put my purpose and put my energy. And I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful for where it is right now. I know that there's so much in the world, so much going on, and I'm grateful to be able to engage with it all in a genuine way, from a genuine place, and to speak to you. And these technologies would coincide with this time and this period that I'm alive, and be able to speak directly to you, and and share these ideas. So um, let's continue on this path, and let's continue to heal ourselves and continue to experience the world as it is and with each other. Um, Check out the rest of the channel. You are loved, and I see the God in you. Subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. I'll be on tomorrow. Peace.